My name is Ahmed Salah. I was a principal organizer of the protests that started on January 25th, which became the Egyptian Revolution. This was a work that I actually started planning for since 28, as it has been documented in several WikiLeaks cables that came out from the period in between 28 until 2010. We have been trying to use social media, namely starting from 28, and we have only been failing. Unfortunately, there is a fact that is most Egyptians don't have access to internet. And those who would have access to internet, they would use it for non-political reasons. For instance, if you will go to an internet cafe in Egypt, you have to show your ID card, you have to get all the information linked to what station, time, and everything, and they present this report to the political police every night, which is a huge deterrent. So each time we would try to call for something over the internet had been a failure, even including things that we tried on January earlier in the year of 2011. But what happened was based on a total a plan that I have had since 28 that had some, of course, adaptations and changes. As I am describing in my book, You Are Under Arrest for Masterminding the Egyptian Revolution, a memoir, which can be found on Amazon.com. Another proof of how social media was not responsible is very simple. If you look on the map, see where did the revolution start on January 25th, you would find that it only started in one geographical area. That geographical area starts from Cairo in the south, goes to Alexandria in the northeast, and the Suez Canal in the northwest, and the Suez Canal in the northeast. So within this triangle that goes between the Mediterranean, the Suez Canal, and Cairo, including the Delta, this is where the revolution started. And this is the area that I have traveled through, that I have given the crash courses, that I have made the plans and the tips on how to do what to do, which I describe in the book. And this is where it started. If it was a call over the internet, it would have been more sporadic, not limited to one geographical zone that I have traveled into, where I have implemented a plan that is already described in WikiLeaks cables from before. Also, what happened in Tunisia was not a result of internet. It was actually not even a revolution at the beginning. It was a social protest that started after what happened with Mohammed Bouazizi, as we all know, and it started to spread and spread and spread until it became a revolution and had its own force, and it was totally popular. As I have said, most people, unfortunately, do not have access to internet, so your target group is not accessible using internet. Who has access to internet? Of course, the security forces, the police. In Egypt, we had a police force that was pretty huge, 1.7 million at times, but we're on the payroll of the Ministry of the Interior, all for the protection of the regime. So you could imagine that among those huge numbers, they would have those that are responsible for internet access. For instance, after we overthrew Mubarak, we realized that even our email accounts were hacked using a $2 million software that they bought from Germany a couple of years earlier. So that was not workable. Each time we call for an event using internet, what you see is our small number surrounded by huge numbers of police forces in shields, armor, and everything, separating us from anybody that may see us. So for anyone in the street, all they see are massive forces that are totally scary, and they don't even hear us or see us. I can speculate because I do not know. So I have two possible reasons that I can speculate. Number one reason, which is more benign, that would be possibly that it seemed more sexy, more attractive in the Western media, that what produced what the so-called Arab Spring were American products, were American businesses, such as Twitter and Facebook and so on, because of course they are right here. The other possible reason, which I also have strong suspicions that it may be the more principal, is more sinister. Because what did we see, for example, when movements similar to what happened in Egypt and Tunisia tried to launch in various other Arab countries. They were crushed immediately because they thought it was internet calls, and therefore they couldn't get enough people to be engaged in these protests, and they were crushed. The problem here is when activists receive faulty information, this means that they would think it is the right thing to do, they will try to implement it, and then they will fail. So under my point of view, this may have been, as a matter of fact, an attempt to crush any possibility for activists to do the right thing, which is real organization, underground, in secrecy, preparation, knowing what to do, and then launching on a particular date in a surprise to the security forces. Surprise is a most important element. In Egypt, what happened on January 25th was that the police force initially thought it is another failure, like all the failures that came before, as we used the internet, because they didn't have enough data on what was going on the ground, or rather underground in this case. Because for the secrecy, I've always given instructions never to talk about this over the phone, never to write about this over the internet, leave things as they are, as what the police might think while we do the real stuff, and start from the smallest alleys, because of course in a small surrounding, a small number of people would sound bigger, they would seem to be filling the place, and this is encouraging. After preparing each neighborhood using graffiti, using flyers, and so on and so forth, word of mouth, there are rumors. There were several tactics that we have used, as I describe in my book, which could be found on Amazon.com.
Okay, thank you very much, Ahmed Salah.
You're welcome.